All right, so I figure to follow up from my last video, I would share another injury video just because they're easy to talk about. And this one was actually recently. It's June right now. This happened in March of this year of 2023. This was not too long ago. And this was definitely the worst fall I've ever taken skateboarding. I've never hit my head, knock on wood. When I messed up my knee and had to get surgery, all I did was you know, I got stuck on a slide, jumped out, put my foot out on my thing buckle. This was actually like I slipped out, slammed and, essentially broke my back. So I'll explain what happened because also, like, what happened too was like the hospital did me a little dirty for a minute. Like, they kind of just scared the crap out of me. Um, I don't know why. I feel like I was getting weird vibes of like the whole time I went to the hospital, and I don't know, but yeah. So this was March, and this was at Chandler Skate Park. It was on a Saturday. It was the day after um, St. Patrick's Day. It was a nice sunny day. Um, there was, it might have been the Sunday. It wasn't, because St. Patrick's Day was on a Friday. It wasn't that Saturday, it was the Sunday. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I don't know. I was either Saturday or Sunday, one of those days. But I don't know why I can't remember. But it was a nice day. It was like 55 and sunny, no wind. It was right when the weather's starting to break. Uh, the snow is melted, no rain, not a cloud in sight. And I went there and it was like, about six people. And Chandler Skate Park's kind of a small park. Six people is not too busy for it, but you're kind of like, those six people, you're all kind of like all hanging out with and seeing with and talking with if you're that type of skater. So you're kind of always right next to people. So what they have is they have like these like small little like it's like a ledge and then a hubba going down and they're connected. And there's also a little bump to bump and hit the ledge, or you can skate it this way and hit the hubba, or you can skate the whole thing. And my favorite thing to do is to um, come at the ledge because it's like this, come this way, hit the ledge, pop off, and fall into the little bump. Because when you're warming up or like kind of learning something or like kind of unsure about your tricks, you go a little slow. So I'd come and do a little nose slide, pop off, land into that bump, and it kind of boosts you through, and you pick up some speed. It feels really good. So I was doing that and kind of just had that stuff on lock because I was feeling really good. I was feeling really confident at the time. There was stuff going on in my life. I just started a new job. Um, had just made some decisions in my life that was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. So I had quit a job that wasn't working out and doing too good for me. I had quit some other stuff that wasn't working out and doing too good for me. So I'm like, okay, boom, I'm on the right path. Awesome. So I was skating that, hitting the ledge and then going into uh, the little bump and coasting through. And they have a mirror. They have two that are mirroring each other, so you can hit it front side or back side, like whatever which way. And I went and I did the whole thing. I popped on the ledge and decided to go on the ledge and then go down it. And I 50'd the whole thing. I front 50'd the whole thing. And I did it like second try. I was like, hop on, boom, down. I'm like, cool. And back 50s are a trick that like I never have on lock. Okay, back 50s are something that I'm just like, I constantly have to try. I get it sometimes like second or third try on like a small little ledge. But it's just a really uncomfortable trick. Anything backside, except for nose slide, like and crooks, like back 50s, back 5.0s. Like I'm not even gonna try and get into back tail or back Smith if I don't have back 50s and back 5.0s on lock. Like it's just like something that I just don't stick with. Front 50s and front 5.0s on the other hand, or front nose grinds, like those kind of like I'm comfortable with. I'm more comfortable looking at what I'm doing. So I really want to get better at backside tricks. So I'm like, okay, I front 50'd it. Let me backside 50 the whole thing. So on this thing, it's like the ledge into the hubba. So it's best to go straight at it when you back 50 and not from the side. So, because it's like kind of just weird. It's best to just go straight at it. And I'm not too good at that either. I'd rather, when I'm doing back 50s, and because I don't have them that good, I'd rather accidentally get into feeble on the ledge than go straight at it and get caught up and go straight forward. That's just what I'm more comfortable with. So this one, you have to go straight at it. So I was like, okay, like I had my confidence. I did the front 50 really good. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. So I tried it a couple times. When I first tried it, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna hop on. It's like a pretty wide hubba. It's definitely enough to like hop on, and like you can manual it if you wanted to. I just hopped on and rolled down it, and I'm like, okay. So like I did that a couple times. I'm like, okay. So I kind of eased my way into it. And then I was like, okay, boom, I started going for it. And I was like, getting into feeble on some. There was some where I was locking in, and then I'd hit the hubba and like get pushed out or like spit out somewhere, and I would jump off and it was fine. So there was one where I hopped right on and my wheels hit first, and then I like moved over a little, and then I got locked in and did the whole thing. I'm like, okay, but I didn't lock in, like hop on right away, and like as soon as I hopped on, get in the lock in, I was like wheels first and then kind of shifted over. So then I'm like, okay, like I'm like, I got this. If I just hop in and lock in, like I got this. This is nothing. Like I got this. Boom, it's going down. So I try a couple more times, and a couple more things keep happening where I'm getting in weird, getting off weird. And one time it was like, I remember I was like tired. I wasn't, because like I'm saying, it's just the weather's starting to turn. I haven't skated too much. I'm like getting tired, and I go and turn around. And you kind of like, so what you do, you drop into this quarter and then you start going towards it. I remember I like came back and like, I'd pop up the quarter, and like I popped up and I'm like, oh, I felt myself get tired. I'm like, fuck, I'm just going to try a couple more, like whatever. And there was other people like filming and getting clips and landing stuff. So I was stoked. So I go into drop into the quarter. I'm going at it. I pop onto the ledge, the side. So here's this thing. I pop onto the ledge on the side, and I get kind of locked in, but not like the best lock in. And I'm really cross locked, and like it's whatever. So then as it goes like this, and then there's a hubba. As soon as I go down into the hubba, my board goes like this. I got tech deck right here. So my board goes like, I'm like kind of locked in. My board goes like this, down the hubba in a feeble, and I try and bring it back. And when I bring it back, I end up going like this in a backsmith and was not ready for it and slip out. And then what do? My legs go straight out. I'm parallel and I'm going right for it. And bam, I hit my back, like this part right here on the very like point of the hubba on the ledge, like the very bottom. All my weight, all my momentum on that little itty bitty point right on my back. And it's this, if anybody knows, like this is like the worst case scenario for a ledge. You fall on the ledge and you like fall right on the point on your back. Like it was scary. It was like, oh, like it's bad when people like I said, there's people skating, they all like look at you and they all stop and they all go like this, or like, oh my god, like sometimes you slip and fall and people kind of laugh and whatever. This was like, oh, like people stop skating. It's bad. It's like, oh wow, like like we might need to call the ambulance, and like there was some people who were sitting and just watching, kind of hanging out, and they were like, yo, like, are you good, like what's up? And like the worst part about it is like there was like a little kid there who was like with his dad or something, like just learning how to skate, because I fall and everyone's, and like I felt it. I was like, okay, that hurt. Like I know, like my brain like registered what happened. Like sometimes you'll fall and like slam and like it would be so intense you don't know what happened. Like no, my brain kind of registered what happened, and I was like, okay, this is bad instantly. And a kid came up, he's like, are you okay? And I'm like sitting there, and then he's like, are you okay? Hey man, are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, little man, I'm good. Like, leave me alone, but he wasn't trying to like cause me any problems. That's just, he was more worried, which is, it's whatever. Um, so I get up, and as soon as I stand up, I'm like feeling weird, and I feel like my back is like dripping blood. So I feel like a dripping coming down on my skin, and I'm like, oh, whoa, this is bad. So I tell someone, I say, hey, like, am I cut? Am I bleeding? And they go, no, but your back is really swollen, and there's like, it's like marked up, and it just swelled up instantly. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I kind of like turn and just feel like the worst nerve damage in my back that I've ever felt. And I'm sitting there kind of thinking, like, okay, what do I do? Like, what's going on? And I'm like, okay, my kidneys are right there. My one kidney's right there. And like, I don't know, I didn't fall on like a rib. I fell right on my side. Like, oh my God. Like, I'm like, dang, do I have internal bleeding? And that's what I thought. Like, okay, that dripping is like my kidney ruptured and it's bleeding inside me. That's like what instantly went through my head. So I'm like, oh my God. And they're like, do you want us to call the ambulance? And I'm like, no, like, I was at Chandler Park. It's on the east side. The hospital I've been to before to get stitches and stuff is like 10 minutes drive. It's in Grosse Pointe. So I was like, no. So like, they're like, well, do you want us to drive you to the hospital? I'm like, no, I'm just going to drive myself. So I grab my water bottle, get in the car, and I'm driving on the way to the car. And like, I'm instantly like, just have like all that regret. Like, man, why did I not just chill? Why didn't I just try a back 50 on something smaller? Why did I try on that? Just all the regret, because like I said, I just started that job. I think it was, had to be Saturday or Sunday, because I was so worried about not being able to make it to work on Monday, because I had only been working at this job 2 weeks. And then to have to call in and say, oh yeah, like I had a crazy skateboarding injury, can't make it to work. I felt like they were going to be kind of tripping on me about that. But so here's how the hospital kind of messed with me. So as soon as I get in, I'm like, I drive there. I get kind of lightheaded on the way there, but I realized, because it was just so much thoughts going through my head, like I was lightheaded, and I'm like, oh my God, I definitely have internal bleeding. Like, I'm getting lightheaded. I'm about to pass out. Like, I hope I don't pass out while I'm in my car and wreck my car. Like, that would be so crazy. So that didn't happen. I park, I walk in there. They give me a mask. I'm trying to tell them what happened. Like, oh, it's like I fell on my skateboard, and, my back's hurting. And they're kind of thinking that I'm like, that I was rolling on my skateboard and slipped and fell and landed on my back. And I'm like, no, I fell on a ledge trying a trick, and I landed on top of the ledge. And they were still kind of not getting it. And there was like a little like they're like little front counter thing right there, and it has a point, like the two little points on the back. So I'm like, okay, imagine I get up and stand right here, jump up and go parallel, and with all my weight I come and land all on my back, and I land with all my weight on this little itty bitty point right here. I was like, that's basically what happened. I was like, I'm afraid I have, like I ruptured my kidney, or I have like some type of organ damage or something in there. So like, oh, okay, like we'll get you a room, like no problem. Like after that, they're like, okay, like we got you. So they get me into a room, and they're like, okay, we're gonna get you a CAT scan. No worries, like, you're here, you drove here, like we think you're okay, like you're probably okay, but yeah, let's make sure. So, and this is the second way they messed with me too. Like, I felt like they were kind of sizing me up, like, oh, your back's hurt, you fell. Like, a lot of people in that area kind of just like claim injuries to go try and get pain pills. Like, it's just the sad truth of what today is. Like, it happens. So I felt like they were kind of sizing me up like that, because I was also like looking dirty, looking rough. Like, I was not looking so good. It's funny, I got the hoodie right here. I didn't just notice it, and I think, oh yeah, so look, you can see the perfect little point right there of where I fell on the hubba, because that's like the wax. And see how there's like a perfect right angle right there? Because that's exactly where I fell. I haven't washed this hoodie yet because of that. And yeah, it's funny, I didn't plan on putting this in the video, but I saw it, and like yeah, it was pretty funny to see. Like, it's pretty funny to see, and like definitely good to add. Like, boom, it was right there. It's on my left side. Yeah, that's funny. I'll put this back. So yeah, so they give me a room. They're kind of like, okay, you really hurt yourself. Like, we'll get you looked at. Don't worry, man. You're good. And so I'm sitting there waiting. They give me some pain medicine, some morphine, and it just really makes me nauseous. It doesn't help at all. And I get up and walk. I'm like, yo, I'm about to throw up, and like, blah, 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 this and that. They're like, oh, whoa, 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 like, sit down. They're like, they checked my blood pressure again, and it was really low. I remember called my cousin and it was like talking, and he was like talking me through it. He's like, man, like, it could be bad. Like, you don't know. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I don't know. And whatever, I kind of calmed down after that because I'm like, you know what? Like, whatever happens, like, I've been through this before with my knee where I had to sit on my back for like 3 or 4 months and not do anything and just sit it out and wait till I healed. And then I got back to it, and I've done it before. I can do it again. So this is where they kind of mess with me. So we go and get my CAT scan. They bring me back. They say, okay, we're gonna go get the like we're gonna go look at the stuff and get the results. So like 30 minutes go by, and they come and they go, oh, Travis, like, oh, Joe, like, great news. You have no like internal like bleeding or damage. Like, you're good. And I'm like, oh, okay. And they're like, but bad news, we found a fracture in your spine. And I'm like, well, what does this mean? Like, do I need surgery? Like, well, like, what's the injury? What's the heal time? And they're like, well, we're not going to be able to say anything. And like, we can't say anything more until the specialist gets here tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, like, am I going to be paralyzed? Like, is this going to be like a life altering injury? They're like, oh, we can't say anything. You got to wait till you see this. We see the specialist tomorrow. And I'm like, yo, these are like, I'm like tripping out by now. Like, now I'm like, a fracture in my spine. Like, is it like, do I need surgery? Is it like going, like, do I have a bulging disc or something? Like, what? I don't get it. Like, what do you mean? And they're like, you'll see the specialist tomorrow. You're going to stay the night. We're going to get you some food and some water. We're going to get you a room. But like, yeah, after a certain point, like, you won't be able to eat. So make sure you eat dinner, and you won't be able to drink any water. And then you'll see the specialist tomorrow. So I'm like, okay. And I'm sitting there tripping. I call my mom. I call my dad. I'm like, yo, I got a fracture in my spine. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, this could be like serious, and like this and that. And then I'm sitting there tripping like hard, like, damn, a fracture on my spine. Like, am I gonna be like hurt for life? Like, what's going on? So then finally someone comes in and they tell me what it was, and they're kind of like, I don't know, I think they called themselves like damage control or something. Like, it was something weird because they saw me like instantly like get crazy, like tripping, but I felt like they were fucking with me. Like, the person was, or it just could be their job, but I felt like they were fucking with me. But yeah, it's probably just their job. But they kind of came in, they're like, oh, like, calm down. Like, here's what happened. You broke a little bone in your spine, and it's called the transverse process. So if anybody knows about the spine, there's the upper part, like the middle part, and the lower part. And the lower part on your vertebrae, they have the little wings that stick out. So I ended up fracturing one of those. And it's like this big. It's like half the size of your pinky. There's like little wings that stick out of your vertebrae, and they're surrounded by muscle, and they attach to that, like, around your muscle right here that goes like around this part right here. They attach to that muscle so you can go like this and up and down and stuff. So, you know, that's where I was feeling all the nerve damage. So that I was like, okay, that makes sense. And they're like, yeah, this is actually not a bad injury at all. Like, it's like a 2 to 3 week healing process. And I'm like, 2 to 3 weeks? Like, they just had me here tripping, thinking I'm gonna be paralyzed for life, and it's a 2 to 3 week process. Like, that's like crazy. So I'm like, okay, I'm chilling back. I'm like, yeah, this isn't gonna be nothing. So they get me a room. They give me a sandwich. I eat it. I knew I wasn't gonna need surgery, but they're still gonna have me see the person anyway. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm gonna chill. I think like I was watching basketball. They had given me some painkillers, which I don't like, but when there's like a crazy injury, like, I take them, then that's the only time I'll ever take them. Like, is if I'm injured or after surgery or like something like that, where I'm in crazy pain, where it's like an injury, not where I'm like, oh, I got a headache, or oh, my back is kind of acting up. Like, no, if I'm like, this was a crazy injury, I had a fracture in my spine, of course I'm gonna try and take some pain pills to help myself out. But that's as far as I'll go. So I'm sitting there chilling, and like, I didn't really care at the time, so I'm like, okay, I just pass out. I wake up, and they were like, oh yeah, we can't like, you can't have any food because you might need surgery. And I'm like, I'm not gonna need surgery on this. Like, I know I'm not. Like, it's like, I know I'm not. So like in the morning I wake up and I'm like, oh okay, like sitting there waiting for my mom to come pick me up. I'm like, oh yeah, like the specialist is gonna come and like whatever. And like right when I wake up, or like 7 o'clock, because that's like my internal time, like 6:30, like 6:30. I wake up and I'm kind of like in the hospital. I'm in a new place, so I'm kind of weird. At 7 o'clock, in comes like this person brings a tray of breakfast, and it's like cereal, eggs, bacon, coffee, and orange juice. And I'm like, ooh, like this is like the perfect breakfast. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna eat this for sure. I just ate it up real quick, and like knowing that they were not supposed to bring me this food. And like, I was like, they came in afterwards, and I'm like, yeah, like I'm good. I just had breakfast. They're like, how you feeling? I'm like, I'm good. I just had breakfast. They're like, what? You had food? Like, what? Like, who brought this in? And I guess someone brought it in by accident. But it, like, to me, it was the perfect breakfast. I'm like, yo, this is the perfect breakfast for me. Like, I'm gonna eat it. So they're like, yeah, like the specialist looked at your CAT scan. You're not gonna need surgery. Like, we're gonna go through, like, they're like, you're not even gonna need physical therapy. We're gonna give you this brace. We're gonna go through how you walk up and down stairs and how you can walk, and then we're gonna send you on home. So that's pretty much what they did. They gave me this brace, and for like a week I couldn't bend or twist. So I could get up and walk. But like bending or twisting, or like if I had to like reach down and grab something, which kind of sucked because I couldn't like cook. Like if anything wasn't in like arm's length with me standing straight up, I couldn't get it. So I couldn't get my pots and pans. I couldn't get food in my refrigerator from the bottom. So my mom stayed with me for a week and kind of helped me out. And yeah, that was pretty much it. That's how I broke my back skateboarding. And here's one thing to add too, because remember how I said I was tripping about like calling my job and telling them? I called them, and I was like, oh, I had a freak accident and I was skateboarding and fell, and I was able to tell them, I was like, and I broke a fractured a bone in my spine. It's like I broke my back. And they were like, what? Like, that's crazy. And they're like, okay, like we're really busy right now. Like we're like out of town. We have so much to do. Like, don't worry, we'll get to you. Like, it's not a problem at all. And I'm like, okay. And I hadn't been there long enough to have insurance, to have paid time off, to do this. They're like, don't worry, like whatever. So I really thought I was gonna be fired, because what my understanding of what skateboarding was is that, imagine I was like doing graffiti and slipped and fell, and then called my work and say, hey, I was doing graffiti and I fell off something and like injured myself and I can't come into work. They look at me like I'm a total scumbag. I feel like that's how people used to look at skateboarding. But now, since it's an Olympic sport, it's really popular, skate parks are popping up everywhere. Everybody kind of looks at it like just another sport and just another activity. If I was playing basketball and went to do a crossover or something, or dunk or shoot or whatever, and like came down and like twisted my ankle and broke it and couldn't work, no one would be like, oh, you're an idiot, you shouldn't have been playing basketball. But people used to look at skateboarding like that. But they didn't have a problem with it at all. They were just like, oh, like 2 to 3 weeks, like heal up, come back, make sure you get a doctor's note, you're fine. So, depending on how you look at it, like that's like like in this case, it worked out for me with like how skateboarding is viewed. I know some people are like, oh, it's so soft and watered down now, like blah blah blah. But no, like this worked out for me, because they were not tripping. And I, like, when I broke my knee, Or like bust when I tore my meniscus on my knee. The job I was working at, they were tripping. They were like, "Yo, what were you doing out there? Like, do you even skate? Like, whatever." But I don't know. I think it'll help me out. So it should help everyone else out. And if the company is good, they won't mind at all either. So yeah, this was just as long. I tried to keep it short, but I don't know. A lot of details in there that make it juicy. So, all right, peace.